and thank you for joining us for another session of dedication. Fans remember the Bay City Rollers, hosted by Bay City Rollers fan events. I'm Suze, and co-hosting with me as always is Laura. Hello, Laura.
Hi, Suze. How you doing?
Good. Today is very exciting because you're actually going to be the lead interview today. Are you excited about that?
I'm excited and I'm nervous, but I'm
Ah,
very happy that my first interview is Craig because I think he's going to be a lot of fun.
yeah. So yeah, as Laura said, our guest this week is a world-class piper who has performed for many dignitaries, including the Dalai Lama, Princess Anne, the Duchess of Cornwall, and even the Queen, just to name a few. Craig is a hugely talented multi-instrumentalist from Scotland. In addition to being a wonderful piper, he also fronts two incredible bands, Gaelic. I'm sure I didn't say that right. And
He
Craig
was,
Weir,
though.
yeah, Craig Weir and the Kabbalistic Calvary. In 2015, Craig was invited to perform We Will Rock You on stage with Queen, the other Queen, on the Scottish day of their world tour with Adam Lambert at the personal request of Sir Brian May. He also performed with the Libertines on numerous occasions, including their Tea in the Park headline show in front of 80,000 people. He has performed with his band Gaelic at the New York Tartan Week and has also performed at the American Scottish Foundation's at the Bryant Park Foundation on the Terrace afternoon concert as part of the New York Tartan Week. And we'll talk a lot about Tartan Week with Craig. We will also talk a lot about his stint as the piper for the Bay City Rollers reunion tour dates, their first shows together in 40 years, back in 2015, around this time in 2015. We'll ask all about that and more. Craig is also a fellow presenter and podcaster. Are you ready to welcome our friend Craig?
Yes, I am. Are
Oh,
you?
yes, I am. Take it away, Laura.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for joining me and Suze today.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Craig.
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing away fine, thanks. Plugging away, plugging away.
Yep, I think we're all doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Nothing
So,
else for it.
exactly. Well, we've got hopefully we've got some good questions in store for you today. We're really looking forward to talking with you. And we're
Great.
going to start right in with the first question about bagpipes.
Sure.
And you were around 8 years old when you became interested in them or started to play. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so I was 8 years old, yeah, you're right, you've done your research, well done.
Thank
um,
you.
my mum's uncle was a piper, and I remember being round there one Christmas, and I must have been 7 or 8 at the time, 2001, 2002 kind of time, and he'd tried to suggest that I give them a go, that I try and take some lessons. At the time I was a very, very shy boy, like painfully shy, and had no real interest in music at all, so I basically said no, but he tried to convince me to have a go, not in a kind of pushy sense, but just, why don't you have a shot? And I did. I went along, started lessons, found a real passion for it, loved it, and effectively there's a famous quote from the piper Rab Matheson, and he said that once you discover the bagpipes, once you discover music, it's like a disease in a positive way, like it takes over your life. And
Right.
it really does. Like it's really, I feel like ever since I picked up the pipes, like it's just opened up this whole new world, and to be fair, shaped the person I am today in a lot of ways. Most of my friends that are close to me I know because of music. It's led me to travel the world and meet and play with or for so many of my heroes, and yeah, it's all back to when I was 8 years old and that at that time.
That's pretty amazing. And to think back that to be such a shy young person and then bagpipes changed your life. I think that's really amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's amazing too, and I've lived it.
Now, before we get into your connection with the Bay City Rollers, we want to talk to you about the two bands that you're currently in. One, Gaelic,
Gaelic.
Gaelic, that you started when you were in high school. That was back in 2010.
Yeah, so we were students at Carnoustie High School in Angus in Scotland. We had started the band off really for a charity school show, and yeah, we loved it. We got a great response that night, and we decided let's continue it. And as you say, this would have been our 10th year anniversary with Gleadrick. So Gleadrick, for those who don't know, are like I guess we're a bagpipe rock band, if you will. We tried to make the bagpipes accessible to different audiences by having them play in different genres and styles. We have different rock and pop covers which we've arranged for the bagpipes. We write our own material as well, and it's a really fun musical journey, I guess, if you ever come to a Gleadrick show.
I think did I see your video? Did you guys play at, was it the House of Blues in New York City?
We played at BB King's.
Oh, BB King, yes.
We played twice during New York Tartan Week, and it was amazing. Like, those gigs were some of the best gigs of our lives, to be honest. The crowd were amazing on both occasions.
Can I ask what the name of the band means in Gaelic?
Yeah, of course. It translates as skirling, which is the slang term used to describe the sound of the pipes. So people here will talk about the skirl of the pipes, or the way the pipes are skirling, and Gleadrick means skirling in Gaelic.
Oh, very cool.
That's awesome. Now, while you're in Gleadrick, you're also in this other band, Craig Weir and the Kabbalistic Cavalry. When did that band come together, and what type of music is that band centered around?
So, the Kabbalistic Cavalry was formed about 3 years ago. We are effectively a side project of Gleadrick, and many of the members are the same. It was inspired by the fact that I guess when I'm not playing and whatnot, I take a real interest in indie rock, indie folk music as my preferred genre to kind of listen to, and I found myself in a kind of rich vein of songwriting for a period, if you like, which was nice, but some of the material that I was writing was not fit for Gleadrick. It needed a different platform, it needed a different outlet, and so the Kabbalistic Cavalry was loosely formed in order to allow that to happen. The difference between the two bands, though, is that the Kabbalistic Cavalry, Kabbalistic has connotations of dark, secretive, and in Cavalry has a suggestion of a kind of army. And I guess the thing with the Kabbalistic Cavalry is we have a flexible lineup. It's effectively me and a group of other musicians who I pulled together that I think would fit different pieces and different things that we're doing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Now, did you, that band, Kabbalistic Cavalry, did you perform with Woody's version of the BCR in Glasgow? Is that correct?
Yeah, not the whole band. I did under the Kabbalistic Cavalry guys.
Okay.
Some acoustic stuff. Yeah, I opened for Woody at the Hard Rock Cafe show, yeah.
Oh, that's great. So that is a good segue into your involvement with the Bay City Reunion Tour back in 2015. What was that experience like?
Well, it was amazing. You know, like I was obviously not around when the Bay City Rollers were a band.
True.
But the Bay City Rollers are the kind of band that, you know, whenever you're at any party, wedding, celebration, there's always guaranteed to be one or t'other Bay City Rollers song involved. So my mum was a big fan of the Bay City Rollers, I think, when she was growing up, and I actually remember buying her one Christmas Bay City Rollers Greatest Hits CD. And then the opportunity came around for me to go out and to play the pipes as part of their Loch Lomond segment on the tour, and obviously I took the opportunity with both hands, because they are obviously one of the greatest Scottish bands of all time. They're musical icons in so many ways, and so the opportunity was amazing to be able to go out and effectively tour the UK with one of the biggest bands in the country on their reunion tour, which was amazing because the anticipation for those shows was huge. Like yourselves, people had waited decades for these shows to happen. So it was great.
Oh yeah, I as a teenager, I never saw the Bay City Rollers, even though they came to Boston. I actually saw Les perform live for the very first time in March in Canada. And that was my first time at a live performance. Even 40-something years later, it was pretty amazing.
Did you cry?
No, I don't think I cried, but it was very emotional, and it was a really wonderful experience to experience with my friends.
For sure.
But it was absolutely amazing. And what was it like for you to perform in front of those crowds? Because I can imagine, I know how enthusiastic we are.
Well, and Susan Me was actually at the the Barrowlands in 2015, that first night. So I was one of the faces that you were looking out at.
Well, excuse me. Initially, that the first night was a bit of a crazy one, because first of all, you could feel, like, even before you went out on stage, you could really feel that anticipation, that buzz in the crowd.
Oh, absolutely.
Secondly, it was quite a nervy situation for me. I don't tend to get particularly nervous. I get a big buzz of adrenaline, which is amazing, and it's a great feeling, and there's nothing else that can give you that feeling, I don't think, in my opinion. But it was a nervy feeling for me that night, because John, who was the manager for the reunion dates in the tour,
John McLaughlin.
He had John McLaughlin. Yeah, he'd invited me to come and do the pipe thing as a trial on the first evening, and he'd said, if it goes well, like, we can extend it out across the other Barrowlands dates, and then, if that goes well, then maybe we can do the tour. So effectively, I was being put on trial at their first public show.
Oh my gosh!
Wow, no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the nerves were pretty real, but it was grand. Like, it was fine. It was a lot of fun, and you could see that, like, there was a real connection between band and audience that night, because the audience had waited so long to play, the band had waited so long to play together. Like, it was a really nice feeling.
And how many shows did you end up doing during that reunion tour?
Okay, so I did the 4 nights at the Barrowlands. I couldn't do the 2 shows at the Usher Hall, and one of my friends stepped in to do that. So I did the 4 nights at the Barrowlands. I did the night at the O2 Apollo in Manchester. I did the night at the Hammersmith Apollo in London, and then when they toured again the following year, I couldn't make it, like, quite a few of the dates. So I just did the Hydro date in Glasgow, and then I did Tea in the Park. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. I did 8 shows with them.
Well, before we get to that, are you going to tell us about the hiccups that happened?
Which one?
Well, whatever ones you wish to talk about. The miming.
The miming thing. Okay, yeah. The miming thing was really funny because, so John had said, it's a trial, whatever, blah 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 blah, and I'd gone through to the Barrowlands to meet guys to have the rehearsal as part of their sound check, and they said, yeah, up you come, like, this is how we're doing it, this is how we're playing Loch Lomond, and instantly I was like, that doesn't fit the key of the pipes. So for anyone listening who knows anything about music, the pipes in concert pitch play it in B flat. If you're playing not in concert pitch, which is more akin to, like, playing in a pipe band, you're probably in E flat. Well, the key that Les was to sing Loch Lomond in was, I can't remember what key it was in, but it was, like, miles away from anything that I could actually feasibly do on the pipe. So not only was I nervous about the idea of this being a trial, and then saying, like, this isn't going to work. And I remember standing in the corridor of the Barrowlands with John McLaughlin, Donald McLeod, who was the promoter for the tour, and Simon Mulvey, who was
Love Simon.
From and Les had come through and they'd said, just mime it, like, no one's going to know, just mime, it'll be fine. And I said, no, like, I can't mime, no chance, like, I'm not in, like, the Spice Girls or something, like, I'm not Britney Spears, like, I can't mime.
Right.
And Les pulled me aside and gave me a talk about show business and all this sort of stuff, and so I agreed to mime, which was somewhat strange, but I guess I played a whole tour in the end of Maiman, and it was fine. Like, I'm here to tell the tale.
Yeah, and to be fair, no one noticed that you were miming. Yeah, I mean,
what's quite funny is that I'm actually on the well, two things actually. I was on the footage from them playing Tea in the Park, the live footage from Tea in the Park, and there I am miming. But also, I'm on their live DVD of the Barrowlands, and I do laugh at that every time because I'm obviously not live.
Yeah. and only you know.
Well, everyone knows now. That's the world. That's out. It's out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I guess you have to kind of suck it up and do it because. But that must have been a really hard decision though, because you're a professional musician but you had to make a decision in the moment, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decision to either take the opportunity to go out and be on tour with the Bay City Rollers and do the mic, or stay at home with my feet up. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I think any sane person would say, yeah, let's do it. Let's go out and take the experience.
Sure, you did the right thing. What I remember from that night is, I mean, you know, we got there at whatever time, and we made our way down to where we wanted to be, you know, where you wanted to stand, and it took about 4 more hours because there were so many opening acts, weren't there? And by the time you guys came out, I thought the roof was going to fall off the place. You know, it was just like it was back in the day. It was just absolutely, just absolutely.
That first night when the BAY,
yes,
BIPY
that
video
place
started,
went nuts.
The intro sort of video, you could the buzz was, I'd say it was like the roof was going to come off.
Exactly. It was just like back when we were 12. It was unbelievable. And I saw one more show while I was over that year, and I did see Usher Hall. So I saw your friend Pipe. But I think that first night, I mean, I only saw 2 of those shows that tour. Nothing could compare to that first night for me. It was just amazing. It was just such a wonderful. It was great. It was the holidays. It was everything. You know, it was just so much fun.
Yeah. But as you say, you'd waited since you were a child, effectively, to have that moment. And I think looking out, you could see the emotion and how much it meant to so many people in the room that night, and all of those nights.
Yeah.
To like finally see their heroes, basically, you know.
Absolutely. When we knew that Les was going to be in Canada, this past March, we went to 3 shows because I didn't know if I would ever see him perform again. I had never seen him perform. So I'm like, we're going to go big or go home. And we drove all over Canada to see 3 shows, but it was completely worth it.
Which part of Canada?
Freezing cold.
We landed in Halifax. There was a show in Halifax. There was a show out in Prince Edward Island. And I forget where the other show was.
Summerside and Halifax and
Summerside was part of Prince Edward Island, I believe.
Peak 2, that was the fundraiser.
Peak 2, Peak 2. We went to some obscure places, but actually one of our friends, Audrey, flew over from England and met us in Canada and did the 3-day tour with us, and we got to see parts of Canada we'd never seen before. And
even though it was closed for the season because it was bitter cold, I mean, it's probably not the best time to go to Prince Edward Island.
I don't really recommend Canada in March.
Did we have a
it was fun.
Wonderful time? And you know, that was about a week before everything shut down.
I mean, venues, were they busy? Were they like good
audiences?
Oh yeah.
Yes. And we weren't the only ones following around to different venues. You'd see the same faces.
Yeah.
Girls from Japan.
Yes.
Australia.
Friends from Japan came over.
We had friends from Australia. It was something. I mean, like I said, it was about a week before everything shut down. I remember coming home. I was one of 2 people flying into New York City, and that was just bizarre, you know. Because it was, you know, because people were starting to really talk about it, and we talked about, should we go? We'll bring hand sanitizer. We were doing all those things, but coming home, I think that it was sober, and we all kind of knew something is happening here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And with a couple days after we got home, of course, the whole tour got shut down. Sadly for everyone.
Yeah, that was really too bad. So Craig, when you were on the reunion tour, you got a chance to spend time with Woody and Les and Alan. How was that?
Yeah, so it was great. I, you know, backstage at the Glasgow shows was great. You kind of, but it felt like it was only really like scratching the surface, because they were like being taken from here or there for this interview, to be with their families, to be this with this person, to meet this person. But then when I was invited to then go out down to Manchester and London with them, that kind of gave me a bit more of a chance to kind of get to know the guys a bit better, because, you know, I'm sat on a tour bus.
Right.
So Alan and Woody travelled on the tour bus with John and I, and some of the backing guys, Phil, Scott, and I think Les and Pecco travelled separately. I'm not sure what the arrangement was there, to be honest. But it was on. So Woody actually wasn't very well for the tour. He was suffering with pleurisy for the most part.
Yeah,
It's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was basically spending his days sleeping, and then like trying to wake himself up and shake himself together to be on stage for the gigs.
Wow, the poor guy.
Yeah, he wasn't well at all. But I guess with Les travelling separately and Woody sleeping, it meant that I managed to chat a lot more with Alan.
Oh, bless.
And Alan is just the most lovely, or was, bless him, he was the most lovely, humble human that you can imagine. He was just, his stories were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I remember him telling stories about John Lennon, about David Bowie, about Olivia Newton-John, about Rollermania in general. It was just, his stories were incredible, but he was also a very, very, he was open-minded and always happy to, from there on, he was always happy to help or like give any advice about music in the music industry. He was an absolute gentleman, to be honest. Since then, I've obviously met Woody. I mean, I've seen all the guys again at the Hydro and at Teen Park, but I guess by those two shows, things were a little bit more sour among the guys. Les, I've seen. Well, I still see Les from time to time. Whenever he comes to Dundee or whatever, like I catch up with him, and it's always great to chat with him. And he loves being and having been the front man of the Bay City Rollers. It's an absolute passion for him. And Woody, I feel like I got to chat a bit more with Woody and got to know Woody a lot more from his show at the Hard Rock Cafe.
Oh yeah.
I'm really keen at some point to potentially have Woody produce a track for the band, and we've spoken.
Oh yeah.
We've spoken at times the notion of that happening, but then he's obviously quite busy at the minute with his current rollout of the whatever they're calling themselves, the modern day Bay City Rollers. And so like they're all lovely guys in their own right. They're all great people. They've all got great experiences and stories behind them.
Definitely.
It's just a shame in a sense that, you know, things kind of worked out the way they worked out.
Yes. And it's probably a tale as old as time in a lot of different bands that, you know, there's irreparable harm done, and as much as the fans would love a reunion, I just sadly don't see that happening.
Without Alan, it doesn't even make sense.
Alan, what's sad is that Alan's passing obviously represents effectively the death of any full band reunion ever happening.
Absolutely.
And I remember in the run up to the show at the Hydro, there was like, I was reading and hearing from different channels from different people that, you know, as a one-off in the encore, everyone would come together. There'd be Les, there'd be Alan, there'd be Woody, but also Derek and Eric will come out for the encore.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there was ever any truth in it. There may have been. It may have been, you know, manufactured by the media. But I think even so, I wasn't a fan of the band, like, because I didn't know them when I was growing up. I know that, like, I was disappointed that it didn't happen. That would have been so powerful for the fact of them to be up on stage together again, and for you guys, that would have been massive. So,
not only for us, but for them as well.
Yeah. But obviously, Alan's death sadly marked the end of any possibility of that happening. And as you say, I can't see any kind of reunion between any of them happening in future.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense anymore without Alan to me.
No.
Yeah, very, very true. And so, because of your relationship with Alan back in 2018, when we were when there was a committee that Suze was on, putting together Alan's memorial event, you were asked to perform. What are your thoughts on that experience?
Well, first of all, it was really lovely to have been asked to do that. As I said, I got to know Alan probably best out of like all of the guys, and he actually he very, very kindly agreed to come up to Dundee a few years ago, and he came out as a guest of Gleadric, and we surprised even our own families with bringing Alan out on stage with us. There's some footage
wow!
There's some footage on YouTube of us playing Shang Lang together, and then he then invited he invited me to do some bits and pieces as part of I Ran With the Gang, and then the cast of I Ran With the Gang together with Gleadric played a couple of pieces together as part of the Scottish variety performance in Glasgow. So actually, our relationship musically then continued to extend beyond the fact that I'd played and been involved in the tours, and so I got to know Alan and his family really quite well. I could genuinely class them as friends, rather than people that I'd met through music.
Sure.
And so then when Alan, I was devastated myself when Alan passed, because my brother and I, my brother plays drums in Gleadric, and he'd been around at a lot of the Bay City Rollers shows with me. He was there at Tea in the Park. The two of us began to see Alan as a kind of second granddad. Like we kind of between ourselves called him Grandad Longmuir for a bit, which was really lovely, and he found that to be really sweet as well. And when he passed, I was actually asked to play at his funeral, which I sadly couldn't play at because I was out playing in France at the time. And then so I felt like the event that was put on as a kind of memorial event for Alan, and then the book launch and all that sort of thing as well, were my best opportunities to pay my respects to Grandad Longmuir,
Oh, absolutely. Wow.
All right, we can't ever get through a podcast without crying. We just can't do it.
I know. I'm sitting here getting all
Thanks, Craig.
You're welcome.
Oh, dear.
So that was why you said you're turning your camera off.
Yeah. The makeup
we
runs.
don't want our mascara to run.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh.
So now we'll segue into something that's a little more upbeat, but
okay.
I do love your stories about Alan. I just think it's really dear. You are associated with the American Scottish Foundation. Is that primarily about piping or your band music? What is that about?
Well, my relationship with the American Scottish Foundation was established really because of first of all, my own involvement in New York Tartan Week, which, for those people who don't know, is a massive celebration of everything Scottish around April 6th, which is International Tartan Day, which is there to commemorate the signing of the Declaration of Arbroath, which sort of devolved all these kind of powers to Scotland and allowed them to have their own government, etc. Which, interestingly enough, Arbroath actually is just along the road from where I live. Like it's like 10 minutes along the road.
Oh wow!
Which is really cool. But despite that, the celebrations in New York are far greater than anything that goes on here, which is quite ironic. But yes, I visited New York for the first time in 2015. Maybe 16 for New York Tartan Week. I was 19, 20. No, I couldn't.
Wow.
Hold on, I'm trying to think. I'm getting my dates mixed up in my age.
I think it was 2015. You said in one of your podcasts.
Right. Okay.
Was the first time you went over?
If it was 2015, then I wasn't 19. I'm lying. I must have been 21, going 22.
Okay.
I was still a relatively young guy, and I suppose I still am, but I decided that I was going to just go for it. It was something I'd always wanted to do, and I was going to book a flight and go to New York on my own and make some connections. And so
Wow.
that's effectively what I did. I was there 2015, 2016. Myself had the greatest time. It was amazing, but managed to build enough connections with people over there to then take the band over in 2017, 2018. And I was then there myself again in 2019. But the links with the New York Caledonian Club, the American Scottish Foundation, the New York Tartan Week in general, all of these came from that very first experience where I just decided, right, I'm going.
So you just took a huge chance.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
But despite that, I managed to have my schedule that week was absolutely insane, and the events that unfolded and took place were really, out of this world. And it's one of my favourite times of year. I look forward to going over for New York Tartan Week every single year. Actually, you're from Plymouth, Massachusetts. My second time in America, so it must have been 2016, I decided that I wanted to replicate the experience of New York Tartan Week in another city, and I staged a Boston Tartan Week celebration, which was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a one-off. I wanted to try and continue it, but I've been so busy and there's been not anyone else to pick it up. But yeah, I did that in 2016, and I think those first experiences in New York really ignited my passion and fire for everything US, and I love coming to America every single time. I've been to lots of different parts, and I've always had the best experiences, and it's one of these things, you never know what's going to happen next.
That is true. That's very true. And so you come to the parade every year except for this year, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone went this year, did they?
No, afraid not.
No, and we don't know what next year's going to bring,
We hope next year, but I think personally, I think it's probably more likely to be the following year. But let's hope. Let's cross our fingers.
Oh, exactly.
Without hope, what have we got?
That's really true, especially these days. Now,
yeah.
Talking more about the parade and all the experiences that you've had, you've met some pretty famous people along the way. Who were some of the most memorable people that you've met?
In the US?
Yes, when you've been here for the parade.
Yeah, so Alan Cummins been pretty cool, because Alan Cummins grew up in the same little village as I grew up in.
Oh,
and
did
we went
he?
to the same high school and stuff, although not at the same time, because he's significantly older than me. But it was amazing to make that connection in the US, and I'm in contact with Alan now, which is great.
That is, wow.
Billy Connolly was amazing. It was amazing to meet him when he was when he was Grand Marshal of the parade, but I'd also met him a few years prior. I had the coolest experience when Jimmy Fallon turned up at a show in New York, which was amazing. I've been really lucky with the experiences that I've had, but then some people say you make your own luck as well, so I guess I have done my fair share of different gigs here and there as well,
Definitely.
Oh, definitely. And one of the cool things that I heard you talk about in one of your podcasts that I thought was really amazing is the 9/11 memorial tribute that you did.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the first year, as I say, when I was going over for the first time, I didn't know if it was going to become an annual thing or if it was just going to be a one-off. So I wanted to fit in some really special performances if I could. And in the end, I was invited to play between the two towers, the memorial site of the two towers. I played at the Survivor Tree. Now they actually only allow one musician to perform at the 9/11 site per month. So I represented April 2015 as a whole month.
Wow.
I'm an ambassador for the World Peace Tartan, and so I was out there wearing my World Peace Tartan between the two, well, effectively the site of where the two towers was.
Okay.
And I had a very short slot, so I had time to play a couple of laments. I played Flower of Scotland, I played the Star Spangled Banner, and I got to meet. There were naturally quite a few people that gathered there to sort of pay their respects and listen to the kind of haunting music, if you will, at such a special's not the word. It's such a
hallowed ground,
poignant kind of sight.
Yeah.
And actually, I got to chat with. It was really powerful and really moving. I chatted with a few people who had lost family members during 9/11, which was so emotionally moving, and it was like it was the whole experience that of playing at the 9/11 site is one that will never leave me. It's a very, very I don't know. I feel very privileged to have had the chance to stand there and play that tribute to those who had sadly passed during that obviously horrendous atrocity.
I mean, it's almost like a weighty honor, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have to say, I love how it's not lost on you what a sacred place that is to so many.
Sacred, yeah, that's a great word to describe it. Yeah, absolutely, yeah, 100%.
And I don't know if you know it, but Susan and I are part of a group that is putting together to be able to march in the Tartan Day Parade with our group called Bay City Roller Fan Events, and we're going to be marching and representing Alan's Tartan, the proud son of Edinburgh. And so we're very excited about that. And oh, did you want to say something, Suze?
No, I'm waiting. Go ahead.
Oh, and so you had told us that Eileen would like you to pipe along with us.
Yeah, like the last time I saw Eileen, which was certainly before all this happened. It must have been.
Sure.
It must have been towards the end of. It was either the tail end of 2019 or early 2020, and we sat down and we had we caught up. She took me to see Alan's grave, and we spoke about. We spoke about. She was going to come through actually to our show in Dundee for our 10th anniversary with the band, but obviously that was cancelled.
Right.
We also spoke about the idea of potentially me joining you guys, piping you down 6th Avenue, whilst also wearing Alan's tartan kilt, which would be amazing, and hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely working hard. You know, we're doing fundraising so we can offset costs for banners and flags and flying people over and things like that. You know, but we're kind of feeling the way you are, that it's probably not going to be this April. We're probably looking to next April. But whenever we do it, it's going to be wonderful. And to have you piping us down is just going to be icing on the cake.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great to do it. It'll be really nice to do it for Alan as well, you know?
Oh, yes.
It would be a lovely tribute. For sure. Well, it's getting to be that time where we have to wrap up. But thank you so much, Craig, for joining us today and spending some time with us. And one of the things I'd like our listeners to know is that besides playing in 2 bands, you're a primary school teacher. You also have an amazing podcast. I've listened to several episodes and absolutely have thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, you guys are pretty funny.
Oh, you're welcome. No, it's really, I'm not just saying it, it's really true. I really have enjoyed listening, and I like it because it's, you know, at some points it's really funny, and other points it's very poignant, and you can tell you're just being very honest and real, and that definitely shines through. Can you tell our listeners how they can find your podcast and your music?
Yeah, so, excuse me, Weir's World, the All Ears podcast, is the name of my podcast. It was started during all this COVID pandemic as a way of us reflecting on our experiences, and it's been really popular to date, which is really nice. It can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a whole range of different platforms. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Our music, Leadric and the Kabbalistic Cavalry, both bands are available on all the usual platforms: Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, and so on. And you can find us on all these social media platforms as well. I'm also on there as Craig Weir on Facebook, and on Instagram as Craig DJ Weir.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Craig, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas
to you too, and here's to a happy and healthy 2021.
And don't forget, you have 2 tour guides when you come over to the East Coast.
I look forward to it.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Craig. Take care.
See you on 6th Avenue.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Don't Thank you, Craig. Wasn't that interesting and fun? Craig is a great guy, and we love having him as a member of our wonderful community. We look forward to having him pipe us all down 6th Avenue in New York City for the Tartan Day Parade. Before we go, we're going to add a few more of Craig's photos and a few selfies. One's a pre-COVID selfie that we took in New York City when we crashed the Caledonian Club's Kaylee. That's another story. And our very safely distanced selfie for the podcast. We're also going to include a video from the 2015 reunion shows that will close out the podcast today. Well, it's been one hell of a year, and we hope we are finally going to be able to put a lot of the horrors of 2020 in our rearview mirror. Personally, these podcasts have helped tremendously. At first, it was just something to do, to keep busy, to have a purpose during your days when you were home. And then it became a way of keeping the community connected. And it just grew and grew, and we just couldn't believe some of the guests we were able to get. It's just been a wonderful experience, and we hope that you enjoyed some of these as well. On behalf of Laura and myself, we want to thank all of you for listening. And personally, I'd like to thank Laura for being just the best partner you could ever ask for. We'd also like to thank our entire team at Bay City Roller Fan Events for all the hard work that goes on behind the scenes to keep our group connected, updated, engaged, and hopefully a little entertained. We want to wish you all a very happy holiday season, and we are anticipating 2021 to be a year where we can finally start making plans to be together again. We're sending lots of love. Keep on rolling.